and welcome to the PokerStars.net America's Cup of Poker. 40 players make up 8 teams, each representing their country or region. These poker players are accustomed to playing for hundreds of thousands of dollars, so playing under pressure is not foreign to any of them. But pressure takes on a new meaning when you're carrying the weight of your entire country. USA, Canada, Argentina, Brazil, Mexico, Colombia, Chile, or the rest of Latin America. Who will win the PokerStars.net America's Cup of Poker?
United States of America, Brasil, Argentina, Canadá, México, resto de Latinoamérica, Chile, Colombia.
This is the America's Cup of Poker. The rules are fairly simple. 8 teams, 5 players per team, and each player will score according to where they finish at the table. All players will start with 10,000 chips, and of course, we're playing No Limit Texas Hold'em. Now, in today's episode, we're going to be seeing 4 teams spread out among 5 tables. The table winner will score 5 points, second position 3 points, third position 2 points, fourth position 0 points, and one team, either the rest of Latin America, Argentina, United States, or Colombia, will be eliminated by the end of today's action.
How do you put your strategy together when you're 5?
Our strategy is to win. Each of us at our table has to win. There's really no other way.
Who do you think is unbeatable from this team?
I think it's Leo Fernandez. Heads up, I think he is going to make the difference.
Pretty good. Like now you should fold.
Should I?
When you play in a team, it's very different and so hard because we have to have a collective strategy. Basically, we have to get to the next day and play a solid game, conservative and aggressive at the same time. Although we have a couple of secrets.
We just want to prove that we are the best team.
There are 8 teams that think they're going to win this. What we're going to do is we're going to give it our best, we're going to be good ambassadors, and we're going to enjoy ourselves.
Representing our country is the greatest motivation we could ever have. Today's focus is passing to the second day, step by step, but the final objective obviously is to win.
We're going to pick up the action early on. Each one of the players is right around their starting stack of 10,000 chips. ROL is rest of Latin America, and that is Carlo Lopez, who will be in seat number 1. Team PokerStars Pro. Seat number 2, Freddy Torres, the captain of Colombia, and this is going to be the captain's table. Leo Fernandez representing Argentina. Each team having a captain, and Dennis Phillips, the captain of the United States team. I am David Tuckman, and I am representing the commentary booth, but I am joined by the 2004 World Series of Poker main event champion, none other than Greg Raymer. Greg, it's an interesting format, this tournament, isn't it? The dynamic that we're going to see today, what do you expect?
Well, the big difference you're going to see here between so many other no-limit tournaments is the fact that they're four-handed. And there is such a huge difference in strategy and starting hand selection when you're four-handed versus a typical 9 or 10-handed table.
And Freddy Torres has called from the big blind with King 7 of diamonds.
Yeah, and see, at a full table, that's often a hand that you should just throw away. But here, when you've only got 4 players starting the hand, I mean, King high, and especially with a suited card, you know, is definitely an above-average hand.
Ace, King, Ace, both players with 2 pair. Torres in the lead right now with aces and kings.
Well, and both players have reason to believe they have the best hand, but they know that if they bet and get called or raised, there's a good chance they don't have the best hand.
Both players think they have some showdown value.
Yeah, now that it's been checked twice, though, now Freddie's going to believe that his pair of kings is the best hand, and he can do a value bet here, and he can hope that Carlo's going to pay him off. And if I'm Carlo, I'm going to probably call this bet, 80-90% of the time, because it's like I've checked twice. He knows I could have nothing. I could have like 10-9 for 10 high, and he's going to bluff me with his 8 high hand.
Well, sure enough, Lopez does call. Torres turns over the winning hand, and he strikes first. Freddie Torres from Colombia wins the 1,000-chip pot as he tables his King 7, shows aces and kings.
Well, and you can tell we're at the captain's table because I think they both played this hand effectively perfectly. You could argue with details, and stylistically someone else might have done it different and not be wrong. But that was like the standard way they're going to play that hand.
Leo Fernandez, probably one of the most dangerous players in this tournament, one of the most dangerous players in the world with the ace-10. He's going to raise it to 250.
Well, and he's got that Latin American temperament, too. He's got a little heat when he takes a bad beat, so he can be some excitement for you at the table as well. But, all of these players, are good, solid, experienced players. So this is where we're going to see the quality play. That's why this is our feature table instead of one of the other 4 tables out there with the rest of the teams playing against each other, because we know that these are going to be the most experienced and most competent people in the field.
Torres makes the call with 7s. Here's the flop. 9, 8, 10, all diamonds. It's an action flop.
Well, yeah, that's huge. I mean, Leo has top pair with the nut flush draw, but Torres, he has the straight flush draw, and he knows that a pair of 7s might still be the best hand at the moment.
It goes check, check on the flop, 4 hearts on the turn.
I'm surprised Leo didn't bet. I guess he's trying to be deceptive because he has top pair with this nut draw. I would often bet that flop, and if I get check raised, I'm going to 3-bet. But, he might just be trying to set a trap here, thinking, because again, 4-handed top pair with a nut flush draw is a pretty big hand.
The captain of the Argentinian team bets. Torres calls the all-important river. It's the jack of diamonds. Fernandez with the ace-high flush. Torres with the straight flush.
I mean, the only reason he's not going to win all of Leo's chips here is that it is a 4-card straight flush on the board. And Leo knows right now that he can't raise and get called by anything.
Yeah, you can see the smile on his face.
But not this time.
Yeah, I mean, he's like, if you have the king of diamonds, that's like the only hand you could have where I would raise with my ace of diamonds and expect to get a call. Every other hand, you're going to re-raise me, and you're going to have a straight flush or a bluff.
Well, Fernandez does call. Torres tables the straight flush, and he is going to win another pot.
Well, it's certainly an interesting hand, and you don't blame Leo for being disappointed.
Disappointed he might be, but Leo Fernandez, the captain of the Argentinian team, managed to only lose about 1,000 chips with the ace-high flush. But for the Colombian captain, Freddie Torres, it's looking good.
So I'm in the big blind.
Pick up Jack 9.
Playable. The button, he comes in for a small raise.
I call.
See a flop, right?
Flop comes.
Queen 10-8.
Rainbow.
Check.
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 The other guy bets
3 times the pot.
How much?
I smooth call.
Turn comes a 5.
And I check.
He's all in.
I call.
I call.
I got the nuts straight.
Versus trip queens.
With over 1.8 million hands dealt at PokerStars every hour, there's so much to talk about.
The river?
You don't want to know.
Learn and play for free at PokerStars.net, the world's largest poker site.
I have my strategy on how to play these kinds of tournaments. The most important thing in the first round is to qualify, and then, well, when you play heads up, obviously, to win. Representing your country is always an honor. We're going to see if we can get better along the way. In the last edition, we came second, we lost to Brazil, so, well, we can't stay behind, and we have to win.
Welcome back to the America's Cup of Poker. Blinds are 100, 200 to 25 ante. So still stacks relatively high compared to the blinds.
Yeah, the average stack here is still 50 times the big blind, which is plenty of play. You're not worried about that. And no one is particularly short stacked yet at our captain's table. The really strange thing, though, is, I mean, it's the point system here. This is not going to play anything like a typical tournament where everyone's playing for himself and where they're trying to win the most money possible. Teams I mean, I played the World Cup of Poker representing America, and you hate going out first and getting 0 points for your team. It is such a horrible feeling, even if you get all your money in good and take a bad beat. So you see a really conservative play.
Lopez raised. Phillips called out of the blind with ace-10. Chose not to 3-bet it. He checks over to Lopez. Both players missed the flop. It's not necessarily a bad flop, though, for ace-10, is it?
Yeah, I mean, ace high, and especially with a good kicker like a 10, figures to be the best starting hand four-handed. And a flop of 3-3-6 is almost never going to improve your opponent's hand. So when you see this kind of flop, you just assume that whoever was in the lead is still in the lead, 95% of the time.
Carlo Lopez bets in position, and Phillips decides to call. You can see the percentages next to each player's name. That's the percentage of the time they will win the hand if it goes to showdown.
Yeah, but Lopez is going to win this a lot more than 17% of the time as long as he maintains the lead here. If he bets again, Dennis is probably 98% going to fold.
Queen of diamonds on the turn. Phillips checks once more. Now it's over to Lopez. And can Lopez now use that queen as a scare card? Well, he decides to check.
Yeah, I'm not too big a fan of that check. I mean, unless he's just decided, I'm just going to give up on this hand no matter what. I'm not going to bluff the river either. If he was going to bluff the river, he should have bluffed the turn.
8 of clubs on the river. And I can understand, obviously, if it was just another small card on the turn to give up. But with a high card like a queen, a king, or maybe an ace, wouldn't you try to represent?
Exactly, because he can't figure that Jack High is the best hand very often. And so he's going to have to bluff if he wants to win this pot.
Well, it's not the best hand. Phillips says ace high, he turns it over, and he wins 2,700 chips.
Yeah, he probably wanted to bet that. And I mean, basically, he's either going to put Dennis on a trap, and he's going to give up the hand and not lose any more, or he has to keep firing, one or the other.
Well, you mentioned the blinds before. This is the remaining blinds per player. Freddie Torres at 46, Dennis Phillips at 40, Carlo Lopez down below 20. Is that kind of danger area?
Well, that's certainly, an area where your strategy has to change. And that's because we've raised the blinds that these guys have gotten down to those relatively small numbers. When you get down below that 20 to 25 big blind range, your typical strategy is you're looking for a spot where you can just re-raise all in pre-flop. So someone who might be a little loose raises and you just shove it in. But ace-king, that's such a good hand. You're going to put in the first raise, the second raise, the third raise, whatever it takes. In a four-handed game, ace-king, you basically have to treat it like the nuts pre-flop, and, you're happy to play a big pot.
Well, ace-king might be the nuts. King-10, maybe a trap hand. Phillips in the blind once again. Contemplating a call, maybe a raise.
Yeah, he can certainly play this hand either way. King-10, again, if this was a 10-handed table, a 9-handed table, I'm not too excited about King-10 offsuit. But in a 4-handed game, I love it.
Well, it could be a trouble flop for Phillips. Jack, king, deuce. Both players pair their king. Lopez way ahead with his ace kicker.
Yeah, and Dennis checked this flop with top pair and a decent kicker. I can't imagine he's going to do anything other than try to get it all in. All he's doing now is deciding, should I check raise now or should I just call? Dennis wants to get it all in. Carlo wants to get it all in. And unless a 10 pops off, we're going to see a double up for Lopez.
Lopez bets 1,025 chips. Phillips raises to 2,300. Back over to Lopez. And I guess if you're going to call pre-flop with king-10 offsuit, once you hit your king four-handed, there's no way you're going anywhere.
Yeah, you're going to have an unbelievable tell on your opponent before you're going to do anything other than try to get it all in with top pair. And
is that a tell? Lopez moves all in for 4,250, but it's only 1,950 over to Phillips to call. The pot is 8,300. He's getting more than 4-1. Can he fold?
No, he can't fold, and he knew that when he made the raise. He knew that he was never going to fold no matter what. I mean, Dennis can't fold this hand unless Carlo actually accidentally exposes his cards.
Well, he doesn't expose his cards. Well, he does now, but that's only because Phillips called, and Phillips doesn't like what he sees. Only a 13% chance of winning this hand. Needs a 10 or some sort of running cards.
Yep, he can make runner straight, things like that. But not only does he have to hit a 10, but then if the other card is an ace or a jack, he's still going to lose. So that's why he only has 13% chance here, even though he has 3 outs twice.
All smiles for Lopez right now, but he's got to fade 2 cards.
Well, you got to be happy you're getting
a
it
queen
in
up
here
there,
as
make
like
it
a 6-1
interesting.
favorite. That's the best you can really reasonably hope for when you're playing at the captain's table with other top players.
Here's the turn. 9 of spades. You mentioned runner, runner, and that does give Phillips more outs. Can catch a queen now or 10 on the river to win.
Yep, any queen, any 10, but obviously, even though his chances have gone up to 16%, that still leaves Carlo as a huge favorite. It'll either be a nice double up or a bad beat.
And it's a nice double up for Lopez. He wins 10,250 chips, and he's back up above his starting amount. Dennis Phillips dips below to the danger level. Dennis Phillips proficient at the deep stack and the short stack, so don't count out the American.
Now I'm gonna eat the yank. It would be really cool if those 2 Argentinians lose. It would add up to 3. They would be like us.
Lo agarré, papi, vamos todo, todito, lo agarré. Oh, man. No! ¡Ay, no! ¡Bótale el plomo! ¡Bazooka! ¡Bazooka! 8 para que diga algo, para que no traigas nada. ¡Tráigame la platica! ¡Vamos, mago, vamos, mago! I was getting low stacked. I had to choose a time to gamble, and decided to gamble with a queen 8. I needed to hit a lady.
Unfortunately, no one else from the team can make points, so we're really struggling. But the truth is that this experience is unique, and I think it's something very beautiful.
We do not advocate hitting women here at the America's Cup of Poker. Well, the first day started out with different strategies for different teams, and still, it's anybody's tournament. Stay with us and enjoy Latin America's Best Poker, exclusively presented by PokerStars.net.
Welcome to the zone. It's not a place, it's a state of mind, of being. You can see, feel, sense everything. Everything. He knows what cards you have, just as surely as if he was looking at them. You want to find the zone? You put in the hours. Play the hands. With more tournaments and more players, you'll find it at PokerStars.net. Learn and play for free at the world's largest poker site.
Welcome back to the America's Cup of Poker. I am David Tuckman, and alongside Greg Raymer, that's right, the 2004 World Series of Poker main event champion. Each team has a representative at all 5 tables. They'll add up their points, and at the end of the day, the team with the lowest amount of points, well, they are gone for the day. They are eliminated. Greg, it's been very exciting so far. What do we have looking forward to? Blinds are 150, 300 to 25 ante.
Well, obviously the key is not to be last place. But, you know, if you finish first, second, or third, that means you're going to get more, you know, or less chips advancing to the next round. So not only do you have to not be fourth, but it's important to also finish first or second at least if possible.
Phillips is somewhat short-stacked in the small blind. He decides to call with ace-6. Trapping?
I would assume so. I mean, if he gets a raise here from Torres in the big blind, I can't imagine Dennis is just going to call. I mean, to just call and call seems a little strange.
And Torres decides to raise, makes it 850. Back out to Phillips.
Yeah, and he's got the right stack size. He should be shoving here for sure. And I'm sure that was his plan going into this hand, that he just felt Torres is an aggressive player, so I'm going to limp in, look weak, and then I'm going to shove.
Well, different strokes for different folks. Phillips decides just to call.
Yeah, I don't understand that play at all. That doesn't make any sense to me. You know, Dennis is an experienced player. He's a really good player. So there must be something else in his mind that I'm just not thinking of.
King 6 deuce, 2 hearts out there. Phillips hits second pair with top kicker. Torres has nothing.
Yeah, but Torres is going to bet. He's got the lead in a heads-up pot. This is very standard no-limit hold'em strategy. You're the raiser pre-flop. you only have one caller, you're pretty much always going to bet after the flop, unless your opponent bets into you first.
I mean, I assume Phillips is not checking to fold, though.
I would hope not. That would be disastrously bad if he did that right now. We're going to definitely see him at least call. He might decide that with a pair of sixes and top kicker, this hand is good enough that I can make the most money by just calling and looking weak and continuing to induce potential bluffs from Torres.
And the question, of course, is if Phillips does raise, can he get Torres to fold a better hand?
No, I don't think so. If he were to raise now, the better hands obviously are a pair of sevens on up. And I don't think you're going to get Freddie to throw any of those away in a heads-up pot. So that's obviously the line Dennis is taking here. He has decided, even pre-flop, I guess, with his call-call strategy, that I am going to use this as a bluff catcher. I'm just going to play this weak like I don't have much, and I'm going to try to get this guy to bluff all his chips off. And ace-6, as weak as that is going to be good enough to do it. And if you know your opponent's that aggressive, then that can be the best way to play the hand.
Well, Phillips checks one more time, gives his opponent enough rope to hang himself. It's a perfect turn card for Phillips. And Torres bets 1350 back over to Phillips.
Actually, this is a horrible turn card because that was like the one legitimate hand he could beat was someone who paired the deuce. I mean, so any card is potentially bad. You know, if your opponent had pocket threes, then a 3 on the turn is the disaster card. You wouldn't know it, but that's the worst card in the deck. So this is one of those cards. If I were Dennis, actually the card I would want to see other than improving my hand with an ace or a 6 is a king. Because if I was behind a king, I was already really far behind. The fact that the king on the turn leaves me drawing dead isn't that much of a difference. It takes away my small chance of sucking out.
Right, I suppose I incorrectly thought that Torres' range, since he raised pre-flop, probably didn't include a deuce. But again, four-handed, he could easily have a deuce in his hand.
He could have ace-deuce, which would be a totally legitimate hand to do it with. And he could be bluffing with anything else. He could have just decided I have deuce-5 and my best chance of winning is to bluff.
There you go. Well, the bet from Torres, the call from Phillips. Pot is now ballooned up to 6,200 chips.
You can see the discomfort on Freddie's face. He doesn't like that call. You know, he knows that really the only thing he can beat right now is a heart draw. We had 2 hearts on the flop. If Dennis had just been calling all this time with 2 hearts for the flush draw, that's the only hand that Freddie can beat. And he can beat most of those by checking and just having the best hand with queen high.
And it goes check, check, and Phillips is going to like this one. He turns over his ace-6. Sixes and deuces with an ace kicker. He taps the table. He's excited. And for the Colombian captain, easy come, easy go. Those chips that he won earlier on, they're now in Dennis Phillips' stack.
Well, and things are much more equal now, and again, it's anyone's game.
I don't like to have a predetermined strategy. I like to have different plans depending on how I see the tournament developing. We're giving all we've got for our country, and to demonstrate that we also believe in other countries like Puerto Rico, my country, Costa Rica, Panama. They all deserve to have their own teams also. And we can demonstrate this by playing well and performing well in this tournament.
Well, Carlo Lopez talks about not going in with a strategy. When you enter a tournament, do you go at the table with a strategy, or do you kind of let the table determine what your strategy will be?
I agree completely with Carlo. I don't like having a preset strategy. You can have a lot of thoughts and ideas in your head about how you might deal with certain things that you might see, but you never know how they're going to play until you get there and start playing with them. And so you have to respond and react correctly to what everyone else is doing.
It's personal between you guys, right?
The best poker players in the world often are the best adapters. They adapt to what their opponents are giving them, right?
Exactly, because even if you know these guys well, you don't know what you're going to see today. It's going to be a little different than what you've had in the past.
Leo getting a count, wants to know exactly what Dennis Phillips has, chips-wise that is. 8-7 suited. 8-7 suited, it's a pretty hand. Do you like it four-handed?
Well, I like it if I have a good chance that if I raise here, I'm either going to get everyone to fold or at least to only call. If I think there's a good chance I'm going to get re-raised, though, then this hand is just 8 high. And it's no good for an all-in pre-flop, really. You might get lucky and suck out, but you're never ahead.
Fernandez contemplating what his next move is. He's in the small blind. It's 300 to call.
Well, certainly if the stack sizes are appropriate, you can just move in with this hand, or any hand really, because if you think your opponent's going to fold often enough, well then even when he calls and you're behind, the two things put together turn it into a winning play. But that's the big part of the formula, is exactly how deep is my opponent, or how deep am I compared to the blinds, the short stack. And he is going to move it all in, and he was just delaying there probably for theatrics to sell a big hand.
Well, big hand or not, he's definitely going to get called. Phillips wakes up with ace-king of spades. But this is exactly what you were talking about. Leo is going to get Phillips to fold a lot, and when he doesn't fold, he still has live cards.
Well, exactly. Even though his suit is dominated, he can't win with a flush unless it's a straight flush, he can still just hit an 8 or a 7. And as we can see, he's going to still win over a third of the time. So that's the thing, is 36%, and against the whole range of hands that Dennis might have called with, he's probably winning over 40% of the time. So it's not like he's in a horrible spot when he does get called, and when he gets Dennis to fold, it's even better.
Fernandez is all in. It's his tournament life on the line, and there's 2 8s. Oh, Phillips is absolutely distraught. Can't believe his luck.
Yeah, I mean, it looks like Leo is the shorter stack here, so he's the one all in, but it's going to be, it looks like something like 80 or 90% of Dennis's chips, and he knows that he's the big candidate now to be the 4th place player with 0 points for his team.
Yeah, that's going to do it. You can see 0% next to Phillips' name. He cannot win this hand. Full house for Fernandez. 8's full of deuces. And he wins a monster pot, and Dennis Phillips is absolutely crippled.
And that's why it's such a huge, important point in your no-limit strategy. When the stacks start getting short enough, you need to try to size it so that you're the one who pushes in. And that way you can win by getting them to fold or win by getting lucky.
And Torres is talking about the outer tables. And when we talk about the outer tables, these guys are the captains. The rest of the players that make up the teams are online qualifiers.
Yeah, and obviously, you know, Dennis is a long shot to get points for his team now since he's the short stack and has just pushed in for his last 2,000 chips. And he's correct. King 8's more than good enough here to do it with. But he's going to have to hope that his teammates out in the field get most of the points for him.
Do you have to call for Fernandez? 13.75. The pot is 36.75.
Yeah, when you look at the math here, he's getting 2.5 to 1. I don't even look at my hand. I would have called blind and then said, well, you know, here's what you have to beat. And we would have all seen it at the same time together. And it's a great spot for Dennis because, as we can see, he's going to be about a 3 to 1 favorite here.
Yeah, Fernandez looks up to the heavens because he's thinking, hey, at least I must have live cards. Nope, your 8 is dead, and now Fernandez really needs a jack or some sort of strange spade flush or maybe a straight.
Well, you know, anything can happen again. I mean, he had 36% pre-flop last time. Now he's down to 28. But still, he only has to hit a jack or make some kind of straight or flush, whatever. I mean, he's obviously a big dog, but, you know, unlucky things happen all the time in the poker world.
Now, Phillips had less than 3 big blinds, so you don't mind the move in.
No, king high is more than good enough. He was correct to shove. Leo was supposed to call, and now Leo has an open-end straight draw, and look at his chances have gone up to almost 40%.
Leo needs a queen, a 7, or a jack to win this.
Put another diamond up
7, you're dead. Queen is not dead. You have a shot.
Right.
Anyway.
Put a diamond up there. Yeah. 7 of diamonds if you got to do a 7. Yeah.
Well, they can also split this pot. Like he's saying, 7 of diamonds. It gives both of them a straight draw. Actually, it gives Leo the made straight, but it gives Dennis the flush draw to overcome it. Or then Dennis would need a jack to tie. I mean, all kinds of strange possibilities. But still, I tell you what, I bet Dennis is feeling so snake bit right now that if you had offered him, you know, half his money back, he'd have taken it.
Well, not anymore, though. The 6 of diamonds changes some things because Phillips has the highest diamond in his hand. He has the king of diamonds. So now Fernandez needs a jack, a 7, or a queen, but it can't be a diamond.
Exactly. So he still has plenty of outs, 20% chance of winning. It's not like that's some ridiculous long shot. I mean, if you go to the horse track, 4 to 1 isn't that big a long shot, but it doesn't come through, and Dennis finally is out from the snake bite.
Yep, no more snake bite for Dennis Phillips, but he's back up to 5,000 chips.
Dennis
still
takes
very
his hand
short
down
stack.
with his king 8.
Yeah, he's still below his starting stack. He's still short stack compared to the blinds. I mean, as you can see, even in a 4-handed game, these guys have been playing conservative enough that the blinds have gotten this big and they haven't knocked anyone out. And that's kind of unusual. Usually you don't see that little action at a 4-handed table.
Well, Dennis Phillips might have avoided the snake bite on that hand, but he went a little card dead and blinded down to 21.75. Carlo Lopez representing the rest of Latin America. is pacing the captain's table at 13,625. Well, there have been a lot of eliminations so far already on the outer tables, and our own Luli Fernandez has caught up with some of the eliminated players.
Here we are with Ariel. What happened? Tell me how the play was.
He raised and I re-raised with a pair of 10s, and he hit me with a king and a 7 of clubs. Nothing fell on the flop. I played all in and he called me with the flush draw, and it came out.
Do you feel that the table was harder than you thought it was going to be at the beginning?
No, I knew it was going to be a good level.
What was the hand that left you out of the tournament?
I waited, and I waited to see if good cards would show up, but it didn't happen. And when I got a pair of 10s, I thought, this is my opportunity to attack. I had bad luck, and my opponent beat me with an ace that he hit later. Since we came back from the break, I hadn't seen any good cards, and since the blinds are getting higher, my stack was too short already. So when I finally got a pair, I thought, I'm putting it all in. But a better pair than mine called me, and besides that, my rival hit a set on the flop, so I'm out.
Five of the last 7 WSOP main event champions are PokerStars.net players. You do the math. Learn and play for free at the world's largest poker site.
Welcome back to the America's Cup of Poker, each team making use of their one timeout.
Our strategy needs to change now. We're looking for 3 points or even 2 points. He already has 3 points, so we're on our way. We don't have to push for first place at the table anymore. We'll just try to eliminate the rest of Latin America. How's the Argentinian at your table doing? He's got 10, 11, and a half. Yours left. I need you to play for first place to win. The 3 of us got to go first and second to win. Come on.
Team ROL, rest of Latin America, and then Colombia, trying to figure out what the best strategy is, both using their timeouts.
If you're doubting, it's better for you to fold. If he's doubting, then push to get him. Come on, Carlos. If you don't know what to do, it's best to tie. Yeah, you can't play tight because they're going to steal your blinds. Just fold or you go all in.
Yeah.
Ready? Okay. Good luck.
All the teams using their timeouts. And it's interesting because only one team will be eliminated, and while you want to win so you get more chips in the next round, it's obviously more important just to survive, isn't it?
Well, if you survive, you can still win the whole thing. You can have the 3rd biggest stack of the 4 teams and still come back to win the whole tournament.
The rest of Latin America, Carlo Lopez all in with his 5s. And it's over to the Colombian. Torres, 1 jack. Ooh, ace jack. Do you call here? He does.
100%. Ace jack suited, you know, with the blinds this big, knowing your opponent doesn't even have to have a legitimate hand to shove. Ace jack, I expect to be the favorite more often than not with ace jack suited.
Well, he's not quite the favorite, but it's the kind of the typical coin flip, you might say, 51%, 49%.
Yeah, anytime you have a pair versus 2 overcards, it's always in the ballpark of 50-50. The pair is usually the favorite, but it's never the favorite by all that much. So, you know, we have what we have. You know, someone's going to get lucky and someone isn't. And that's, you know, you got to play well, but you have to avoid bad luck, too, if you want to do good in a tournament.
Someone's going to get lucky, someone isn't. That's why we bring you in here for the tough analysis. 8-7-9, nothing there for Torres yet, and is his tournament life on the line?
Well, it does give him an extra out. Now he can catch not just an ace or a jack, but a 10 will give him a straight. So if he's going to miss, that's not a bad flop to miss with. He'd rather have a second heart on the board, too. He's got the runner flush draw going.
Lopez dancing, asking for a 6.
Well, the 6 would give a straight to Lopez, and it would take away some outs from Torres. Torres would then have to make the straight to win. 6 of hearts would be exciting.
People don't know, actually. There's a rain dance out there. That's actually the 6 dance. Little known outside of Latin America. There's an ace, and Torres spikes his ace. And Lopez is going to need a 5, a 6, or a club.
Yep. I mean, it was an interesting ace because of that ace of clubs. 3 clubs on the board. The only club is the 5 of clubs held by Lopez. So, like you said, any club, any 5, any 6 will do the job.
His hands are in the air. He's still smiling.
Well, that's all you can do in these spots is just smile. Win or lose, you just smile, and you either celebrate or you just deal with it. It's going to scare the poor dealer.
He's having a good time.
Well, I played those 2 World Cups representing the U.S. against the world. And
it's a 6. There it is, and Lopez hits the straight.
It's more fun when you hit your card than it is when you don't.
Well, he asked for the 6 on the turn. It didn't come on the 6, but it hits the river, and Lopez, the 9-high straight, survives. He actually doesn't double up, but he does eliminate Torres, and our first captain is gone. It's the Colombian.
Well, he took that early chip lead, but, you know, it wasn't enough. I mean, you got to take the lead. You got to keep moving forward. You know, things change quick in a poker tournament, and even more so in a 4-handed poker tournament.
Well, Freddie Torres takes the walk, and our own Luli Fernandez is going to catch up with him right now.
What happened? Tell me, how was the hand that left you out?
The blinds were high. We were already pushing a lot. The team that was in worst position was Puerto Rico, and the idea was to get them out, and we got them out. Sorry for rest of Latin America. You see him goes all in, and I see an ace-jack of hearts, and I had to call immediately. He had a pair of 5s, and an ace shows up on the turn, and it forms a flush with the 6 on the river.
Freddie Torres says goodbye in 4th place, and that leaves us with this 3. Carlo Lopez, representing the rest of Latin America, is in 1st place with 20,950, and his team really needs him to finish in 1st. And that's exactly what he was talking about right there. All of his teammates have actually been eliminated, so he really needs 1st place. Once a reminder, 1st place 5 points, 2nd place 3 points, 3rd place 2 points. Phillips is all in. Fernandez going to call.
I got a queen. Oh, I got live cards.
And Phillips does have live cards.
Well, we've seen this before. I mean, Leo Fernandez had the live cards with the 7-8 suited against Dennis's ace-king. So Dennis is really hoping to return the favor and crack this ace-king of Leo Fernandez.
Yeah. Well, I guess when you're moving all in with Queen 7, once you get called, you know you're behind. You're just hoping for live cards.
Exactly. I mean, he said, I've got a queen. And, you know, the implication there was that maybe he didn't even look at the other card. He might have just kind of looked at one, said that's enough, you know, in this situation. I mean, and that is the problem is, you know, there wasn't enough action early. The players were a little too tentative. They didn't eliminate anyone, and now they've gotten to the point where the blinds are so big that it takes away most of their decision-making.
Here's the flop. Ace, 7, 3, rainbow.
I got my 7.
And Phillips hits his 7. He's right there, but Leo Fernandez has got top pair with top kicker, ace-king. He's got a pair of aces with a king kicker, and he's got a commanding lead in this hand.
Yep, Dennis needs a 7 or a queen.
That is neither a 7 or a queen.
No, but at least it's not a 3. An ace would have left him drawn dead, and the 3 would have taken away some of his outs. Still needs a queen or a 7 on the river to get lucky, but, you know, only going to happen 11% of the time.
Here's the river. It's a 4 of diamonds, and Phillips is gone. But he did survive till 3rd place, and you talked about it. Just by surviving from 4th to 3rd, at least you get 2 points for your team.
Yeah, and it's key that you really get that at least that 3rd place finish because you're getting 2 points. Now, by knocking him out, these guys have only earned 1 more point because they're only guaranteed 3 points for 2nd. And so now this next jump is key because it's, again, 2 more points moving from 2nd to 1st. So the first knockout is critical. This second knockout, not so important. The final knockout, that's the key.
How do you feel after just being eliminated?
Actually pretty good. It was a tough table. Leo and I, Fernandez, have had a lot of competition. We played the high stakes in London, the final table. I finished 7th, he finished 5th. He caught some cards on me. You know, he was back and forth. It was a very good match. Well, actually, of the 5 members of the team, we've all got points. Nobody went out first. 3 of them are still active on it. Another one finished 2nd. I finished 3rd. So no matter what, all 5 of us are going to get points, which is what we wanted.
Team USA looking pretty good to move on to the next round. Maybe not so for the rest of the Latin American team. Carlo Lopez really needs to win this. Needs those 5 points. And right now, Leo Fernandez, Carlo Lopez, heads up to see who will take 5 points and who will get 3.
And all the strategy we talked about before is out the window, because when you were 4-handed and 3-handed, you had to balance your desire to win chips and the risk involved versus the downside of that risk, losing chips and getting knocked out early. Now it is just winner take all, basically, 2 more points.
Well, you know a lot about winner take all. You versus David Williams in 2004, that was a winner take all for all intensive purposes.
Oh, once you get heads up, it's always winner take all. I mean, no matter what the rest of the tournament was, the strategy changes heads up. And here, you know, also we don't have very deep stacks. You know, these players only have 40,000 chips on the table, and the blinds are 8 and 1,600. So they have less than 30 blinds on the table.
Just to remind you, you act first. Wow, look at this. Forget about the reminders. Fernandez all in on the button with 10-6. Lopez with the automatic call with the aces.
At least he didn't slow roll it.
It would have been great if he thought about it for about 15 seconds. What do you think? And to boot, he has the ace of clubs as well. Fernandez then on an 18% chance of winning this hand, and he's all in for his last 6,200.
Well, Leo wants that 7-8-9 all club flop, and he can lock this thing up 100%. But as it is, look at that 18% chance of cracking the aces, even with a hand that's so completely dominated.
By the way, even if Fernandez were to win this hand, he would have to double up one more time to take the lead. Well, he's got some outs there. King, Jack, 9, a couple of hearts out there, and Fernandez picks up a gut shot.
Well, as you can see, he went from 18% to 22%. So even flopping no pair, just getting that gut shot draw and that runner-runner flush draw has increased his chances. Queen would really be a great card for him, but any club will be better than nothing.
That's not a club or queen. It's the deuce of spades, and Fernandez down to a river. He needs a queen and only a queen.
So only 4 outs left in Leo's tournament life. He has to hit that queen, or we have a winner in Carlo Lopez.
Both players standing up. Lopez's team really needs those 5 points. Here's the river. It's the 5 of diamonds, and Lopez wins it. A strong, strong showing by Lopez as he gets 5 points for the rest of Latin America.
Well, unfortunately, that 5 points may not be enough. With 3 of his 4 teammates out with 0 points, even if his other teammate wins the heat, that may not be enough to get them through to the next round.
Well, the Argentinian, Leo Fernandez, his team's looking pretty good. He gets 3 points, and he's all smiles as he's pretty sure he's going to go ahead. Luli Fernandez is with him right now.
You were eliminated, but got 2nd place. Good.
Yes, we already qualified. We started bad because the first player came out with 0 points, and
In the first break, Leo told me we're in a complicated situation.
yeah, we were in bad shape, and I had a small amount of chips, but we recovered. A guy was able to win at his table, the other came out 2nd, so we already qualified for tomorrow. We had a conservative strategy, and we had to change it because one teammate had already been eliminated, and I was about to lose, so I told them that they had to try to win those remaining tables. Changed. That's why I asked for a timeout to tell them that they didn't have to win every table, but coming at least 3rd, we were going to qualify anyway.
With 1 match left to play, these are your results so far. The United States and Argentina are going to be through to the next round. Rest of Latin America and Colombia, well, it's going to come down to our final match. It's very exciting.
Well, we started out really bad. 3 of my 5 members were eliminated without any kind of points. And of course, it was me and the Costa Rican left, and we didn't give up. The problem is that we have 3 members without any points. If it weren't for that, it would have been really easy to go through.
As always, one match often comes down to one hand, and this is it. Colombia versus Latin America. And only one can go through, and it's Colombia. They go through to the next round.
Here I am with Carlos, who is the one that made Colombia qualify for tomorrow, the final. Tell me how you feel right now.
Well, I'm extremely happy. Thank God everything worked out. All the pressure was on me, but I knew how to handle it, and I was lucky. We were lucky. Well, this is Colombia's triumph.
Argentina qualified, so I imagine you're relaxed.
I was relaxed when I realized we were already in. In the last game, I gambled. It didn't happen for me, but I'm happy anyway. In the last hand, he had overcards, and I had a very low pair. It didn't happen for him. It didn't happen for him, and here we are.
We started today's action with 4 teams, all with hopes of going through to the second round. Despite Carlo Lopez winning at the captain's table, it wasn't meant to be for Team Rest of Latin America as they go up in flames and they are eliminated in 4th. Team USA is in 1st with 15 points, followed by Argentina with 14 and then Colombia with 11. It's the PokerStars.net America's Cup of Poker. Make sure you catch us next time to see who will join these 3 teams in the semifinals.
Eso está escuchando demasiadas veces. Ven y se lleva el pozo, ven y se lleva el pozo.
Esta nunca me sale. Igual te iba a mostrar.
Solo 3 flops.
Sí, nunca me sale. Igual iba a mostrar.
Wow. Oh, no es para... Wow.
Almost I fall, right? Buena mano.
For Greg Raymer and Luli Fernandez, I'm David Tuckman. Until next time, reach for the stars.